Hi, everybody. We welcome you to Nissan in-game live. How about that? Eagles get a score. They don't get an extra point, but they get a score. It is 14-6. They trail the Seattle Seahawks in week number 11. Ray Dittinger, Michael Barkan. Ray D, what can you say about this? This is the 8th time in 11 games now for the Eagles that they have trailed at halftime. Interestingly, they've only got 3 wins. And they've trailed. They've led just 3 times. What'd you make of that first half?
Defense played generally pretty well, kept you in it. First 2 possessions, they came up with big stops. Seattle came in with a very aggressive philosophy here. I mean, they had their first drive. They drive it all the way down to your goal line, and they're not taking 3. I mean, they're going for the touchdown. They get stopped. Then the next possession, they stopped them on 4th down again. So your defense, the defense came out, I got to give them credit. Defense came out, played hard, played with a lot of energy, and looked like they came to play. But the offense was just god-awful. And, I mean, didn't get a first down on the first 5 possessions.
Till 4:56 left in the second quarter, their first down.
Yeah, and then they get that last possession where they actually start to move the ball. But, this again kind of gets back to a question I think we're all asking. Is it the players or is it the coaches? And I think it's almost equal parts of both. The players aren't very good, and the coaches certainly aren't helping them. What you saw here at the end of the game, at the end of the half, was a recurring theme with this team. When Wentz plays his best, when he does 2 things, when he's out of the pocket and he's rolling out, when he's out on the edge, or when they go up-tempo. That's when Wentz is at his best. When he's running the set offense, when they're huddling and going up to the line and snapping right at the clock, and he's playing from the pocket, he looks terrible. I mean, his mechanics are awful. He's jittery, he's uncertain, he's inaccurate. But when they pick up the tempo, when they pick up the pace, and once he gets the ball under his arm and starts to run a couple times, it seems to energize him.
And that's why it's coaching.
And they get,
that's why it's coaching.
And so clearly, I mean, this is not like a one-time thing. I mean, we've seen this with Wentz over and over again, where he struggles, and then you get in a situation where they say, well, let's go up tempo. And all of a sudden, he looks like a better quarterback. Well, why don't you start the game that way? Why don't you come out and you play that way right from the jump? Get them on the move. Go up tempo on your very first possession. I mean, you've got a team right now that this game tonight, 3rd straight game that you couldn't score in the first quarter. You look at in the last 6 first quarters they've played, they've scored a grand total of 17 points in their last 6 first quarters. And we keep saying over and over and over again, this team has to start fast. They need to start fast. They need to start fast, get a lead. And the evidence is right there about how your offense functions the best and how your quarterback functions the best. It's right there.
Yeah.
And yet, week after week, you don't do that.
Right, so you're answering your own question. It's not the players. Remember when Andy used to start out, Andy Reid, he'd do that like play fake, and then boom, whether it was T.O. or D-Jack or whatever, you knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. And half the time or more, they'd complete it. And it was exciting. But they don't do that here. Doug doesn't do that.
No, but I think that part of it clearly is coaching. I mean, that part of it to me, it's real obvious when this team, when the offense clicks, why it clicks and when it clicks. It's right there. You've seen it week after week, and yet you start every game like you don't know that, and all of a sudden it becomes this revelation. Okay, that's on the coaches. But there is the other part of it, Mike, which is the players just aren't that good. I mean, you're seeing, I know there's a tremendous amount of scrutiny on Wentz right now. Because, I mean, the whole setup for tonight's game was, how long is the leash on Wentz? Are they going to pull Wentz? When's Jalen Hurts going to come in? Is this the night he gets? So all of that is on him, okay? And everybody's talking about him. But there are so many plays here. I mean, there were sacks that Wentz took in this game that everybody said.
3 of them, 3 times.
Yeah, and everybody said, well, he's got to get rid of the ball. Well, you look at the top shot. You look at the all-22 shot. Nobody's open. I mean, and you got to understand that you're going up against a Seattle defense that hasn't been able to cover anybody all year. I mean, receivers have been running wide open against this defense all year, and yet you look at these Eagles receivers. They have a defender plastered on them. So you're taking a probably the worst cover secondary in the league, and you're making them look good because your guys are incapable of beating one-on-one coverage.
And that's why I still would go back to coaching, whether they need to kick butt on these players or whether or not they need to just coach them better. You got Jalen Reagor. He's your number one. He's got 4 targets and 2 catches. You got Dallas Goedert. He's a former top pick for you. He's got 2 catches on 3 targets, 3 yards per catch. You got Byron Scott, Alshon Jeffrey, who's getting paid all that money, Miles Sanders, you got Hightower, Ward, and Rodgers. Those are the bottom 3. And I'm thinking, all right, so they're not great. And maybe if they were coached up a little bit more, they could be better. But some of those other guys should be playing a heck of a lot better than they are, which is why I go back to coaching, my friend, to throw it in your court one more time.
No, when you're in the situation that they're in right now, and you've played yourself into this situation, it's everybody, okay? It's the coaches, it's the players, it's the guys in the front office who pick the players. Okay, it's all of it. When you get to where the Eagles are right now, that are just fumbling around trying to find anything that's going to work, everybody's had a hand in this. But I think that you're seeing evidence here in this game. At least I'm seeing evidence in this game where I think you begin to understand why Wentz is really struggling, because the Seattle secondary, Mike, they can't cover. They really can't. And you try and find an open receiver here. The Eagles receivers can't get open against the 32nd ranked secondary in the league. So, yes, there's a major personnel issue in a receiver core that you hoped you were going to rebuild and make better this year. It ain't.
Yeah, I'm stunned, though, that the Eagles are in this game as they are. Maybe they're not really in it, wink, wink, but it is 14-6.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look at Seattle, what they did on their first drive, going all the way down, and I remarked to you, how about that nice combination of runs and passes? It seems so comfortable. They're springing off runs, and they're getting guys open, and then they ended up not scoring a touchdown. The Eagles' defense almost cost them right there on that drive. They ended up coming right to it and saving a score. But when you look at that Seattle offense, it was a trap game? What the heck?
They started off this year really clicking. I mean, their first 5 games, they were really good. And that was when everybody was talking about Russell Wilson, give him the MVP award. He's got it racked up. And through 5 weeks, he did. Since then, Mike, their offense has been sputtering. And Brian Schottenheimer, who's the play caller, the offensive coordinator, has admitted as much. Now, they thought they were going to be better tonight because they've got Carson and they've got Hyde back. They went through several weeks there, but they really didn't have a healthy running back. So it just became a pass kind of game. They thought that getting their running backs back and having a little bit of a running game would take a little of the pressure off Wilson and give them a more complete offense. But so far, and again, I've got to give a lot of credit to the Eagles defense. I think that the Eagles defense is playing pretty good. I mean, they're tackling well. They're getting a lot of pressure on Wilson. And I think one of the things you're seeing here with the Seahawks moving forward, going into the postseason, I have no reason to think they're not going to be a postseason team. Their offensive line, not very good.
No.
I mean, Russell Wilson, most of these plays back here, he's running for his life. I mean, he's running for his life every bit as much as Wentz is.
Yeah.
So their offensive line isn't all that good, and and their execution isn't all that good. I mean, the only plays they're making are plays that Russell Wilson is making, and Metcalf. Man, he's a handful.
He sure is. Oh, he's a beast, and he plays so angry against the Eagles for obvious reasons. By the way, third down efficiency, the Eagles have one more first down on third down than does Seattle. 2 for 5 is Seattle. 40%, 3 for 8 are the Eagles.
Wasn't it interesting? One of the things we look at Seattle's stats coming into this game was a lot of their offensive stats are really high. I mean, Russell Wilson came in with 30 touchdown passes, which sounds great, but they have not been a good third down team all year. They're 18th in the league on third down, and you would think that they would be better, but they're not in those situations, and they haven't been tonight either.
18th, and I'm writing everything down. All right, we've got to go. Coming up after the third quarter, once again, is Barrett Brooks. When the clock hits 0 and the game has concluded, right back to NBC Sports Philadelphia. Ray and I, Seth Joyner, Barrett Brooks, will bring you Eagles Postgame Live. We'll hear from Doug Peterson. We'll hear from Carson Wentz. Hopefully be talking about an Eagles win, which will vault them once again, Ray, into first place in the division.
Don't start, Mike.
I'm warning you, Norton. All right. Enjoy the second half. We'll see you postgame.